Indeed, it's Tuesday and the sun is set to shine on us, and we're ready to bask in the beauty and power of it, starting by bringing you your perfect day start on Channels Television. Good morning and welcome to the Morning Brief. I am Bukola Koka, and I never do this alone. Of course, Jeffrey and Kadi are here with me. They have fuel, by the way, and I don't have fuel. You see, they just left their sister, you know, amid this difficulty. But you're forgiving, guys. Hi, Jeffrey. Hi, Kadi.
Such weighty allegations.
Start the show with an allegation.
Is it an allegation?
We'll meet in court.
Okay.
The court of public opinion.
we'll file an exparte against you.
Don't you have fuel?
To restrain you from picking us up.
Don't you have
from
fuel?
Stopping us.
Don't you have fuel?
Eh?
In fact, Jeffrey greeted me this morning by saying, wow, how did you get to work this morning?
True story.
So I have evidence.
Yeah, true story.
Yeah.
Well, welcome to the show. I'm Kayode Okikiolu. Well, it's one of the perks of having a little motorbike that you can jump on from time to time. You don't have to fuel it, I mean, every week, just once in a month plus, and you're good to go. So here's my olive branch on my hand of fellowship to you guys to come to the winning side.
If Bukola takes that scooter all the way to where she lives, she will not come to work for 2 days straight. Welcome to the show.
I never learned to ride a scooter. No, not for me, guys.
It's the very last day of the month, right?
Yeah.
You know, sometimes I used to be confused as to April and all of that.
Well, thank God for that song. 30
that
days,
poem, right?
30 days at April.
April, June, and November.
I think April actually started it, right?
31.
I did it in primary school. Welcome to the program. I'm Jeffrey Uzoma. Yes, Bukola, sorry, that's all I can say.
I know. I'm just trying to soften the atmosphere. It's quite hard and tough, we must say, and acknowledge. Some people spent hours, productive hours at the filling stations. And this is reality. I mean, nobody's trying to talk down on anyone, but this is what we're facing as a nation. People sleeping almost in front of filling stations, reports of people hoarding. What you even have is some people, they buy the petrol from the filling stations and then they go sell it black market right there in front of the filling station, sometimes as much as 6,000 naira for 4 liters, 8,000 naira for 5 liters rather, and it is what it is, guys.
Kadi, besides that Nigerians are currently grappling with, they also have to contend with increased electricity tariff. Never mind that those on Band A are being guaranteed 20 hours uninterrupted power supply. The question is, do they have it? Remember our last conversation during which, you know, we really thrashed it out. You know, evidence abounds to the effect that even those who are on Band A are not getting value for their money. Besides that, the current economic hardship. So what's it like for you? Have you gotten fuel? Did you get the palliatives? Recall, just a few months ago, the president ordered the release of grains from the Strategic Grains Reserve, 40,000, although we've been told that that will be grossly inadequate in the light of the size of Nigeria's population, more than 200 million people. But palliatives shouldn't go around everyone on the hierarchy, but those who really need it, do they have it? Recall that the Lagos State government had said just last month or in February that there would be a feeding program of 1,000 to 1,500 people in all local governments, and there'll be a 25% reduction in transportation. How's that coming through? Perhaps the reduction in transportation cost has been implemented, but we haven't quite seen the feeding program. And how effective is a palliative distribution across states of the Federation? We're seeing some activity in the north, but not quite much, you know, in the south that should go around. But what's it like for you? Let's have evidence. We didn't get palliative distribution. Of course, you know, if we got, I'll know that Kayode got, and I'll know that Jeffrey got, but
no,
guys.
I don't need palliatives.
You don't need palliatives.
I know what Jeffrey needs.
Kayode certainly doesn't need palliatives.
Jeffrey needs power, just like every other Nigerian. Power, petrol, that's enough.
I don't think any of us here needs palliative.
Palliative, they all start with P that people
If the palliative has to do with reduction of the bills we pay, well, that may work for everybody, but it's literally going to get food, and I don't know. I'm sure a lot of, there are some people that don't need all of that, but there are people that really, really need it.
Yeah.
And those people must be attended to. For me, it's just deja vu, because I was on the social media, I think on TikTok also. I saw a video of 1994 of this same fuel issue, filling station, people lining up all the way, and the lady in the video was saying, can you imagine the military people, it was a military administration that
military era.
They came, they'll buy fuel here, sell the fuel at the station. Why can't they do the... I was like, wow, what has really improved? God, 94, that's like 30 years ago. I saw that video yesterday. I was like, oh my. So my question is, what has to happen for us to get one thing right as Nigeria? Nigeria has not been able to get a thing, one. I don't think there's anything we have gotten right as a country, and it's a challenge to all of us because we can, if we want to. And this has nothing to do with the administration of President Bola Tinubu. I mean, the independence since 1960 is almost 64 or 65 years or so, and we haven't gotten one thing right. What is that? Power, road, water, healthcare, education, the list goes on. One. We've not said this one is history, we've perfected it. I mean things that the public utilizes or public utility service, none. So it's a challenge to the administration of President Bola Tinubu, who says he wants to reset the economy and put it on the path of growth to begin to think of. Mr. President, it's an express suggestion. Don't try to fix everything. Fix one thing and let the successor leaders fix the others, and let's see how it goes. For me,
it's going to be a tricky one.
Yeah.
So you can't focus on one and then leave others. You obviously have to try to balance.
That's right.
Because if you focus on one, others naturally will go kaput. You know how it works. If you have to keep your eyes peeled on all of these sectors.
That's what I'm saying. In keeping our eyes peeled, people have kept their eyes peeled, and they've look at Dubai. We could go Singapore. I could call third worlds like ours many years ago and are now first world. They've been able to fix a few things. They put things right. As in the name of, I have a 5-point agenda, 3-point agenda. President Muhammadu Buhari had 3-point agenda, and all of it, the success is debatable. We can go back to Jonathan, the success is debatable. We can go back to Yaradua or Basin, former president. We can go back to all of them. Success is debatable. Now President Bola Tinubu has 8-point agenda. We will watch and see how that plays out. So when can we get a thing? One, we're not looking for more. At least get power right. We've not been able to generate up to 6,000 megawatts, according to the record of the minister. And we have installed generating capacity of 13 megawatts. Come on, it's embarrassing.
40,000, you mean? 40,000 megawatts.
40,000 is what we expect. Installed capacity is 13 to 14,000.
Okay.
We've not been able to do up to 7 as a country in our history. That's embarrassing, man.
Something to chew on, absolutely. But hey, at least we can get ourselves right as people. Do the right thing wherever we are. And that's what makes a nation actually the people. So in your little corner, I'm tempted to talk about filling station people. But so it would be like I'm just targeting them. Everyone, let's do what is right.
Well, you know, Jeffrey, I could take you up on getting one thing right, but really there's absolutely no need for it. All I can say is that there is a social contract between the leaders and the led, and there is a commitment on the part of the leaders. They should follow through with their commitment. You know, but getting one thing right only, I believe it's way below the par for the elected and appointed leaders. But what do we have for you today, guys? Starting with the uncertainty over the cause of this round of petrol scarcity, which remains the same even as the fuel queues get longer in filling stations across the country. Today, we continue with pertinent questions to help you understand the situation and hopefully get government to understand also the urgency of the situation and do something fast.
Well, we're still trying to figure out exactly how to get off these long queues at filling station. Well, that's not a problem of our football organization, the tax before Finidi. That's the man. Is now in charge of the Super Eagles of Nigeria. The board of the NFF has approved the recommendation of its Technical and Development Committee to appoint former ace winger Finidi George as head coach of the Super Eagles. This effectively brings to an end months of speculation over the successor of Portuguese coach Jose Peseiro. But the task ahead of the new coach appears uphill one which is to guide the Super Eagles to victory in several of the qualifiers that are coming up, both in Abidjan and in Uyo in a little over 5 weeks. Is Finidi George going to step into this in the right way? Is this the right shoes for him? Some persons have criticized this. Some have hailed it to say, give our local coaches a chance. We'll find out today whether it is the right pick or not, right here on the show.
And of course, later on the show, we come up close and hopefully slightly personal with radio and television show host, Nigerian music curator and fashion entrepreneur, VJ Adams, with a view to, of course, getting an insight into how to be all of those things and more rolled into one and smile to the bank while you're at it. So, hey, you don't want to miss that.
Not at all. It promises to be an exciting conversation. But add to that, we'll also be bringing you up to speed with, the situation report as far as petrol queues are concerned across the state of the Federation. Our colleagues, our correspondents are on standby, to bring us updates. So you can also tell us what it's like at your end. In fact, you can record the filling station where you're currently at. Let's know what the size of the queue is. Is it as long as 3rd Mainland Bridge? We sincerely...
11 kilometers.
11 kilometers. We sincerely hope not. But hey...
That'll be a state of emergency.
Over 11 kilometers. Now, that'll
God forbid.
That's not good for your mental health. But whatever it is, send us a video and let's amplify your voice. Start posting to us at X, Facebook, Instagram. Send your videos. Yes, that's our WhatsApp number. It's showing right now on your screen. So in the next 1 hour, 40 minutes or so, the show will begin to unfold and it promises to be exciting all the way through. We're on standby. First of all, we'll bring you the top stories after this break. Stay with the Morning Brief on Channels Television. Welcome back to the program. Starting with the top stories now. The recent hike in electricity tariff has been a bitter pill, difficult for many Nigerians to swallow, and a huge subject of discussion as well. Consequently, the Senate Committee on Power has decided to wade into the matter. The lawmakers are demanding affordable tariffs and also want the increase to be halted for consultation to be carried out in order to alleviate the suffering of Nigerians. They made their position known at an investigative hearing on the electricity tariff hike in Abuja, during which the Minister of Power, who appeared before the committee, raised concerns about the sustainability of the power without tariff increase.
What you have just done, because that's the kind of conversation we're having here. Can we really classify Nigerians into these different categories? We made it a conditional tariff. We made it a service-reflective tariff. On this, I can actually assure Nigerians that any customer that is not enjoying 20 hours will not pay the new tariff regime.
We are calling for a reversal and a suspension of the implementation of the new tariff to enable all stakeholders have meaningful dialogue around the process and methodology of determining the electricity tariff, as well as jointly agreeing on the transparent mechanism required for tariff setting.
Now, besides the increase in electricity tariff, citizens have continued to grapple with a hike in the price of petrol due to the persistent scarcity of the product. At many filling stations in Lagos and in other parts of the country, long queues can be seen as motorists struggle to fuel their vehicles. Black marketers are also back on the roads, selling at exorbitant prices.
You can see with our monies we can't even get the oil. Like me, I wanted to get gas for my family and I have to queue because I can't go in because the queue prevented me from going in, even to get the gas. Although I equally want to get petrol, but you can see the situation is really pathetic. People are queuing. In some instances, you will even go to the filling station, there is no oil for you even to buy. So I think we are really in a dilemma. We need the government and those independent marketers to come to our rescue. Let them bring the oil. We are ready to buy it, even at the prices they are selling.
You hardly see where there is fuel. The whole residents are suffering. And the unfortunate thing is that there is no clear message, either statement from the government to tell you this is what is happening. There has been speculations. Some say that it's because the government is about to reduce the price. Others say it's because there will be price increment. And the government has not deemed fit to come out with a clear statement to say this is what is happening, and residents are suffering.
We hope it sure eases soon. But in the meantime, the Deputy National President of the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association, Mr. Zarman Mustafa, is optimistic that the current fuel scarcity situation will be resolved within the next 5 to 10 days. Mr. Mustafa told Channels Television that the association provided this timeline because petroleum motor spirit, that's PMS, cargoes are already on the coast and vessels have been dispatched to bring in the product. And while Nigerians grapple with power and petrol supply challenges at home, the Minister of State for Petroleum Oil, Mr. Heineken Lukwobiri, is reaffirming the need for Nigeria and other African countries to be allowed to implement energy transition at their own pace. The minister restated Nigeria's position at the special meeting of the World Economic Forum taking place in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia.
For Africa, our position is that we are not against energy transition. We have our own plans to transit, but allow us to transit at our own pace. We want the investments to come. Not these embargoes that are placing on Africa. Not these embargoes that are placing on, investment. Those who are saying that we should do transition, we should abandon fossil fuel themselves, are not abandoning it. US is the highest producer of oil. Britain just gave about 100 licenses last year for new explorations in the North Sea. Why don't we deploy some of the promised resources? That has never come. Since the Paris Agreement, they have promised hundreds of billions of dollars, not even a dollar had come. Why don't we call on the Western countries that are responsible for these emissions to use part of that promised resources to develop technologies that will take even 20% of the emissions, and the world will be safe for the next 100 years. So what we told them was that, from the African perspective, allow us to transit at our own level, at our own pace. Africa's problem is energy poverty. Those from the developed world is sustainability of the comfort they're already enjoying. And so we cannot transit at the same, pace. And I think there was consensus among the panelists that, look, every continent, every country should be allowed to transit, at its own pace.
And to the Judiciary now, a Kano High Court has scheduled May the 16th, 2024, to rule on the contentious issue of serving criminal charges on former Governor Abdullahi Ganduje, his wife Hafsat, and 6 others via substituted means. This follows a request by the prosecuting counsel in the criminal case, Barrister Diola Adedegbe. Justice Usman Naaba, however, refused to expedite his ruling on the matter as requested by one of the counsel. In the meantime, the Judicial Commission of Inquiry on the Recovery of Misappropriated Public Property and Assets, set up by the Kano State government, has called on the public to come forward with evidence to help in the investigation of the administration of the former governor. Chairman of the Commission, Justice Farouk Adamu, made this request at the inaugural sitting of the Commission in Kano. Also from the courts, former CBN Governor Mr. Godwin Emefiele has challenged the jurisdiction of the Lagos High Court to try him on the charges filed against him by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC. At the resumption of proceedings on Monday, Mr. Emefiele's counsel, Olalekan Ojo, asked the court to strike out counts 8 to 26 because the court does not have the jurisdiction to try him. Through his lawyer, Emefiele submitted that he cannot be tried in the High Court of any state in Nigeria for alleged acts of abuse of his office, as this raises issues of constitutionality and legality. After hearing the counsel's argument, Justice Oshodi deferred ruling on the application to the final day of judgment. And in another legal matter, alleged terrorist negotiator Mohammed Tukur Mamu, currently on trial for terrorism offenses, has filed an application with the Federal High Court in Abuja to transfer him out of the custody of the Department of State Services, DSS. He requested Justice Inyang Ekwo to modify the remand order against him, opting for remand at the Kuje prison instead of the DSS custody. At the resumption of his trial, Mr. Mamu, through his lawyer, Abdul Mohammed, alleged that the court's order on December the 19th, 2023, granting him access to his personal physician for medical treatment was not adhered to by the DSS. And outside our shores, the U.S. Secretary of State hopes Hamas will accept what he has called Israel's extraordinarily generous offer for a Gaza truce and hostage release deal. Mr. Anthony Blinken was speaking as a Hamas delegation discussed the new proposal with mediators from Egypt and Qatar. A source close to the talks told the international media that they were cautiously optimistic. The proposal includes a 40-day truce in return for the release of hostages and the prospect of displaced families being allowed back to northern Gaza. It reportedly also involves new wording on restoring calm meant to satisfy Hamas's demand for a permanent ceasefire. We'll see how that plays out. But in sports now, Abia Warriors Football Club of Umuahia came short in the pulsating match day 32 encounter of the Nigeria Premier Football League, losing 2-4 to hosts Sporting Lagos at the Mobolaji Johnson Arena. Coach Bethel Oji made 4 changes to the side that beat Plateau United by a lone goal in Umuahia, with Samson Obi and Pascal Nwabweze joining Sunday Megwo in attack, while Emmanuel Onu was restored to the starting 11. Goodluck Ozioma paired Prince Okorie at heart of defense. The match, of course, lived up to its billing as Sporting Lagos got off to a flying start when Pascal Durugo put them in front inside 4 minutes. And just 2 minutes later, Pascal Nwabweze thought he had equalized for the Umuahia Warriors when he tapped in Sunday Megwa's header, but the goal was ruled out for offside. And that's it on the top stories for the moment. But in the meantime, what are some of your thoughts to the big stories that we're reporting at this hour? Jeffrey joins me now for a review. And I'm going to ask Jeffrey one question.
What's that?
So for the local league, which is your favorite club? Do you have any?
Yes, I have, of course. I support Akwa United.
Okay, so you're a patriotic Nigerian.
Yeah, I support Akwa United. But it's been a while I saw their live match anyway, because, you know, work, you don't have to, in the evenings or in the morning, depending on what your schedule is. But it's good to support these guys, because I remember when I was in New York, I go to the Gospel Akwabi International Stadium to see some of these matches, even the international matches as well, as much as I had time to.
You're a rare patriotic Nigerian. Most Nigerians are either for the UEFA or the English Premier League.
Well, I know the club I support in England, not in the entire Europe, just in England alone. But we're talking about local leagues, so we must support it. But before we get to what people are saying, I saw the story about the inability to serve court proceedings, I think on Abdullahi Ganduje, right?
Yeah, the former Kano governor.
It appears that this has become kind of a trend.
Starting with the former Kogi governor, right?
With the big men. You know, I remember what happened with Philip Shaibu. It was issue of being served. Although it was served, it was not a substituted service, which eventually led to his impeachment. And then Kogi State governor, which is an issue in court till now, about he was actually served in open court through his lawyer and all of this. So I don't know what's going on with the big boys and the law and being served court proceedings. But anyway, let's find out what you were saying. Motorists stranded as petrol scarcity worsens. Of course, it's day 2 or day 3 into this. Even Bukola could not get fuel. This is what Dex Brown Civil says. It's truly devastating. The price of petrol has gone up from 167 naira per litre to over 600 naira per litre. I bought for 720. And despite the intense or immense increase, Nigerians have accepted it as their fate. However, the government has bitten off more than it can chew by indirectly causing more pain to the masses through this petrol scarcity. Isn't this an extremely difficult time for Nigerians?
Indeed it is, and we can't say that enough. This next one is from Daforel Studio, who says, yes, it's on the screen now, I saw school children workers and business people stranded at the bus stop. Even when they finally saw a bus or keke, the high price made it impossible for them to commute because they had already budgeted their transportation money for the round trip. What has our country done to address this situation?
Whoa,
Big question.
Big question.
Imagine setting out. You have it all planned. In spite of the difficulty, maybe you parked your car and your money is inadequate to get you to your final destination.
Pathetic for this situation. Well, Fabulous says, few weeks ago, NNPCL did boast of having enough fuel in its reserve. Dangote fuel is expected to hit the market in a few days. So why can't we get fuel from the reserve till Dangote starts supply? The scarcity is on the government.
Well, all we know is that there is a disruption in supply chain, and Petran, we spoke with Petran yesterday, and the president said they are unable to get the product, and they're also on the lookout for information. That's what we could glean from the president of Petran.
Although we do not know the nature, they say it's a logistics problem.
Challenge.
We still don't know the nature of the logistics. Is it that NNPCL doesn't have fuel, or it has fuel, it can't offload? What exactly is the problem? We're yet to know.
And NNPC usually assures that we have enough supply to last 30 days. So did NNPC stop importation while the old stock, we ran out of the old stock? That shouldn't have been the situation.
I did speak with the IPMAN National Secretary. He said, by today, tomorrow, everywhere should be wet as much as possible. Well, let's be hopeful. The only thing we can do is to be hopeful. Oye.com says, I see the queue this morning, so now I just go park the motor back for house. Simple and straight.
Well, we're in the same boat. This person says, Jenny O rather says, not again. Nah. Fuel subsidy removal, how market? Federal government should kindly re-strategize because this is not working. The masses are struggling and suffering.
Arakunri Akolade says, this is really sad. The reason for this is just unjust. Fuel is now gold in a town that has king and is it Ijoye?
The chiefs in council, that would be Ijoye.
Ijoye, okay.
Yeah, well, I guess he's referring to the ministers or the governors, one of the two. Well, this one is from Omiachi J, who says, for a country with abundance of oil deposits to be going through this agony every time, shame on everyone. Well, no reason, definitely no reason for derogatory language. We can put across our views as decently as possible.
Yes.
But we get your point, Omiachi.
Absolutely. So let's move on now. We understand, of course, yesterday or so that I think during the inauguration of the Labour House, the governor of Edo State, outgoing governor, we should say, because it has a few more months, less than a year to leave office after the election, Governor Godwin Obaseki has approved the new minimum wage to 70,000 naira. Edo State governors are increasing minimum wage towards the end of their tenure.
You recall that even when the minimum wage is still set at 30,000 naira, but Edo State has been paying 40,000 naira in the last couple of years. And Lagos State had cause to clarify over the weekend, by the way, that it had not implemented a minimum wage, but was following through with the adoption of 35,000 naira incentive for workers, which is what it added to workers' salaries, I believe. So what are the other states doing, So it pretty much supports, the point that we're making at the start of the program about palliative measures to cushion.
Former Governor Shomale also did at some point. Lesson R says, trying to make the life difficult for the incoming governor, just asking a question because I doubt he's even paying the current wage. Well, we need to find it out.
Civil servants in Edo State can either buttress that or debunk it. Now, this one is from Lesson Al, who says, trying to make life difficult for...
We've read that.
We've taken that.
Dafro.
This one is from Daforel Studio. Wow, for real? That's the start of his message. Edo State workers don't score now with that new minimum wage. 70K now double from before, Sef. No wonder Obaseki they try hard to manage resources well for states. If you pay workers that kind of money, other states go see and see as this guy take care of business. Even some private companies know they pay pass 30K. Well, basically just expressing surprise.
So some say
giving commendation.
Yeah, some say it's political because elections are coming. Whatever it is, the workers are excited.
And he says other states will see that this guy is, taking care of business, as some private companies are even unable to pay 30,000 naira as things currently stand.
Aziz Adam says, way to go, kudos to him. But the question to ask him is, can the incoming administration, after him, sustain 70,000 naira per month? Question. Whoever wins the election in September will be able to answer that.
And this next one is from Samuel A. Cox, who says, we should learn how to appreciate good things. This announcement hasn't got to all states, so congratulations to Edo civil servants. That's a commendation there coming from E. Cox.
Abdallah says, commendable. I hope other governors will soon follow suit. Kudos to Godwin Obaseki, Governor Godwin Obaseki says.
And Simplicity finally says, I know it's a good development, but can he pay his workers their outstanding salaries? It makes no sense to increase minimum wage when he's still owing them salaries. So are there outstanding salaries
we need to find it out.
To workers in Edo State?
We need to find out. I don't know the facts. I don't know. So I'm not going to speak to what I don't know, but we will find that out. Customers not enjoying 20 hours electricity will not pay new tariff. That's a statement from the Minister of Power. This is not the best time to be the Minister of Power, because all Nigeria's problem is going to rest on your head, literally, because that sector, I don't know what it is, but we hope that they get it right. Eze Arinze says, nobody's enjoying 20 hours electricity. Last week, all the food in my fridge that I cooked with my hand and fledgling money, naira, gospel due to lack of electricity.
Oh dear.
Let me even tell you what
Sorry about that, Arinze, right?
Let me even tell you what happened in my area. My neighbor and I, we drove to the substation in our area, and we're like, why is everybody else having light? We don't have light. And the guy, in fact, somebody in the neighborhood who lives opposite the substation came and joined us and said, he was talking to the technical guy, said, how do you feel that this is the substation, this is my house,
and there is no power? What an irony. This one is from Adewale Damilari, who says, better if only this is feasible. The discourse will be working on meeting the target to raking more money and in turn metamorphose into a better electricity supply. Best bet is to degrade people on grade A to other grades that correspond with the supply. Well, good point there, because I've always had reservations about the uneven categorization. Others who are below band A, maybe band B, C, D, E, also are entitled to power supply, adequate power supply. Everyone deserves adequate power supply because it's our commonwealth.
Well, AI Ken says, how would your payment points isolate those who do not enjoy 10 hours electricity per week in Warri South? And we just move ahead and unbundle the current discourse to ensure every state has their own discourse and speed up prepaid meters to all customers to fade off corrupt estimated bills.
This one is from Political Surgeon, and it's a brief one. They say, let's hope this will be implemented in full force. Hence, a lot of promises have been made in the past that weren't fulfilled.
Oh boy. All right, so this is coming from Akila Anzaku. Says this is criminality. We want all Nigerians to have 20 hours electricity because the band A customers are not angels.
Okay, on to the next talking point now, which is about the increase that you're about to experience on your DSTV subscription. And that's this is how it's captioned. The tribunal has intervened to prevent multi-choice from raising subscription fees for DSTV and GoTV services. And the first one is from Odogu Anyoma, who says, let's hope they adhere to the ruling, because the last time same happened and they ignored the National Assembly with no sanctions.
Well, Don Franklin says, good one. Let them also mandate them to charge subscribers as you go. Let each channel have amount for it so that someone can select as few or as much channels as he wants to pay for. Okay, like literally unbundling the whole channel thing.
Yeah.
All right.
This one is from Prince Ola, who says, why are they stopping them? Are they buying fuel, diesel, and other commodities for them? Well,
that's
looks like
also
Ola is
yes.
very comfortable with an increase, should it come.
I think what the person is trying to say, the argument has to be balanced. They are in the same economy which you are complaining about, that things are tough. Why won't you allow them also, increase their operating costs, because of operating costs, increase their fees or subscription amount. Okay, the
Tauru Strada.
I try to understand. The Tauru Strada says, good, I also expect the tribunal to make a ruling to the effect that their services show henceforth be pay as you view or pay as you view. Everybody
pay per view or pay as you go.
Yeah, pay as you view. That's the way he puts it or she puts it. Pay as you view.
Which really is tariff justice, because of the power situation. If you have subscribed currently, you can't watch because you don't have power supply, and then it goes to waste. Well, this next one is from Onyekachi Nwabweze, who says, story. Well, that's a way of saying, how do I explain that now? That you're being played, something like that. Story. DSTV is demanding I pay for 15,000 naira for compact as we speak. Now today we dey see court order again. Against DSTV. Well, that's a lot of skepticism expressed by Onyekachi Nwabweze.
Okay, this is coming from Boldness Call. Same thing they did the last time. It's obvious they are using the same formation or format on us. A month after, they will silently increase it.
Well, this one is from Okpara Emmanuel, who says, my message to DSTV is that I no grief for them again. Well, he is promoting another brand, and he says that's loading. You have the next one.
Wow. This, what did you read?
Okpara Emmanuel. So the next one is...
IBKZ says, just let each channel have their own price tag, so I can choose which channel I like to watch. Make them not choose nonsense channel for me as packages again. Okay, he wants to have a choice as to how he wants to watch or she wants to watch his or her television. All right.
Now, this next one is an interesting one. It has to do with your money and where you keep it. CBN directs OPay, PalmPay, Kuda Bank, and MoneyPoint to stop onboarding new customers. And this first reaction is from Dual Code Enyan, who says, not surprised. There you have it. Banks aren't making much profit since the introduction of those online banks.
Oh, boy. Omoibo says they notice that the youths are slowly dishing. Okay. Omoibo, physical and local banks, truth be told, services of these online banks. Okay. Am I reading the same thing? Okay. I think they moved on to something else. I think I went to read something else. Okay.
But you're on track.
Yes.
He's pretty much saying that their services are better than the physical traditional banks.
All of these fintechs, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go.
This one is from Oshune, who says they shouldn't think of closing the above-mentioned online banking service providers, I believe, because they have employed thousands of our youth.
Well, it's just about inclusion. It's about inclusion at the end of the day. So all of these fintechs, whether it's Kuda, MoneyPoint, all of these fintechs, they've been able to integrate the people in the lower cadre of the economy into some form of the banking system, financial system. So they are tracked, they can be tracked and all of that, and they can actually be part of the new wave of technology. So whatever has been done to them, we need to do that. But we also know that scammers use these tiers of banking to scam people. So it's just to regulate properly and to put up a proper firewall so that all of this will not happen. So you just don't throw everything away.
To ensure long-term stability beyond the efficiency of service delivery that you're currently enjoying, what about long-term stability? So perhaps it's only wise that the CBN intervenes in that area. But away from banking to the measure of petrol in your tank, how much do you have or do you not have at all? And what's the cause of it? Exactly. That will be the first leg of our conversation this morning. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
Let's begin in Lagos, as an all too familiar scene surfaces across the metropolis. It started last week and has persisted into the new week. situation, for instance, on Itire Road in Surulere is the only dispensing station accounting for the long queues. A quick stop at Ondo State comes with this same tale. Theirs is laced with an appeal to the government and relevant agencies to find solution to the lingering fuel scarcity in the country. Only a few outlets, as always, are dispensing fuel, compelling some residents to opt for commercial transportation.
We want the government to come out and tell us the truth about the fuel, because the suffering is just too much. And the implication of fuel scarcity, it will affect all other products. And with the citizens, we are suffering a lot. And combined with this issue of fuel scarcity, you could see by yourself now that there's queue all over the areas.
Just a moment. Rivers State is reporting a different story in Port Harcourt, the state capital. Fuel scarcity has not been noticed. However, prices have seen a slight upward review to 700 naira per litre. The queue at this NNPC fueling station is understandable because fuel is sold here at 591 naira per litre. We tried to see the situation in the northeast of Nigeria, and we can report that a litre of PMS sells at 1,000 naira in Damaturu, the state capital, while the off-shelf price sells between 1,200 to 1,300 naira.
When you have a vehicle to move from one place to other, one need at least minimum of 5 liters, which is 5,000 naira. It's too costly.
Prices are currently surging upstream, and not necessarily due to market forces, but supply constraints. Subsidy removal does not automatically translate to product availability. Nigeria is a crude production country and not yet a net exporter of constituent products. More local functional refineries plus national assets will resolve and forestall future occurrences. But after all is said and done, what will matter the most is for normalcy to return. Until then, this is where we are. Olu Phillips, Channels Television News.
From the meeting we had with MD NNPC Retail last week, Thursday, we have an extensive meeting as regards to how best we can synergize to bring solution to this supply gap. We have agreed on a lot of positions, and there are enough products in the on the coastal water that smaller 20,000, 15,000 metric tons ships have gone to bring down to the coastal depot. And we have enough trucks in all parts of the country that we can evacuate whatever volume that is available for off-road transmission to our retail outlets. 2 weeks is even too much. Maybe by 1 week or 10 days. Especially Abuja. Abuja will not be up to 2 weeks. Abuja, maybe by Friday you will see a lot of difference.
Well, how many Nigerians can wait till Friday, particularly because your plans, business, personal, official, travel, what have you, they probably won't be able to wait till Friday. In fact, Apeman had been reported to have said that this might take 2 weeks to be resolved. Yet again, I ask Nigerians by extension, what kind of business will wait for that long, knowing fully well that these businesses and individuals depend a lot on petrol? So we'll try to unpack all of these issues. Remember, one of the respondents there saying that the government needs to come out to tell Nigerians the truth about the situation. Again, the trust deficit we've always talked about seems to be getting wider and wider by the day. But these are the issues we'll take on. What exactly is going on? What truths do we need to get from government? Is there a way to speed up this recovery process? What is this logistics issue all about? These and many more will be taken up with our guests who will be joining us any moment from now from, well, virtual space, I shall say, we have joining us Mr. Olabode Showomi. He's the chairman, New Energies and Hydrogen Study Group of NGA. He's also a member of Experts on Gas, UNECE. Good morning, Mr. Showomi. Welcome to the Morning Brief.
Good morning. Good morning. It's always a pleasure to be on with you guys.
So you're speaking as a Nigerian, as an expert in the space as well. So it's a very good balance, you know. Speak to us about what you may have heard some people say about getting to know what the truth is about this situation. We've asked the questions, and it looks like the more you know, the more you need to know, or the more that is left unknown. So when you look at this space as an expert, because we can talk about bringing the product into the country, NNPCL does that, taking it to the depots, the private depots, then bringing them to all of the, you know, filling stations. So at what point do we have issues in this whole chain?
Okay, if we are to look at it technically, it's a supply chain issue, which simply means that the goods is not available to be distributed. Now, the reason why the goods may not be available for distribution could be multifactorial. And unless you are at the center of it, you may not know the exact reason. But if we are to look at historical trends, we do realize that anytime there's a need to force or precipitate price increase, we do see this kind of artificial scarcity or this kind of scarcity. Anytime there is a protest against government, we do see scarcity. So it is left to conclude that the supply chain gap, that is the gap between when the product is available to when it reaches the last mile, is where there is a problem. Now, when we look at it, and when we hear what the NNPC has to say, that we do have some amount of fuel available, and if that is true, that means the people who are responsible for the supply chain are the ones holding us captive. And if that is the case, speaking specifically to that, it does mean that even when the private refineries do go online, as Dangote is about to go on with petrol in a matter of weeks, it doesn't necessarily end it. So it basically means there has to be an alternative. And one of the alternatives that can be considered for that is actually pipelines, which is pipelines that will run across board. I mean, starting with the existing ones that have been vandalized and that has not been repaired. I mean, for example, there is a pipeline to the airport, which is supposed to supply Jet A1 fuel to the airlines, and it has not been functional in the 90s. I mean, it can still function, and alternative just has to happen because it makes us a laughing stock to so many people. I remember days ago, not even up to weeks now, I was in Addis Ababa, and I remember my host, the first thing he said is that, I hear that in your country that there is people selling fuel in jerry cans when the petrol stations are existing. I mean, I didn't know where that came from, so I really didn't have a response to that. But the point is that this is a supply chain issue. Whether the reason for that is because there is no fuel is one thing, but we do know that there are cases where there is fuel scarcity to the last man, even when there is fuel. And bottom line is that somehow, some way, this has to end.
But more realistically, beyond the supply chain issue, Mr. Showomi, could this have anything to do with the increase in the price of crude oil in the international market and the implications for the petrol that we're importing? And of course, perhaps this debate about whether or not the federal government is still intervening with a measure of subsidy.
Well, it may be, it may not be, but to be honest, the point I'm trying to make is that there are separate issues, and those issues need to be separate. And we as Nigerians need to start interacting with each other as civilized people. In other words, if the people in the industry demand an increase in the retail price of petrol, the way to go about it is not to punish Nigerians. In other words, they need to sit at the table. And The fact that there is an increase, the fact that government is intervening is one thing. But the fact that anytime they feel uncomfortable, anytime they want a price increase, they have to put the nation as a standstill. It's not something to be encouraged. And that is just the point. Yes, there's an increase in crude oil price. But every increase in crude oil price should not mean an increase in fuel price. Because when there is a decrease in crude oil price, it doesn't necessarily mean to decrease in the retail price of petrol. So there are a lot of balancing act that needs to be done, and that is why the whole thing must begin and end on the negotiation table. So, and it does not mean that every time they're on the negotiation table, Nigerians must go cap in hand, people must suffer, people must fight, cars will be damaged, there will be accidents, work will suffer. You know, there are multiplier effects to these things. It's not necessarily the best way to engage Nigerians.
We are seeing from the visuals we get and driving around Lagos and parts of the country, we see these vehicles snaking into the roads and causing difficulties for everybody, motorists, commuters, and everybody literally. Looking into the future, we have 5 refineries now. I think just one is working. The other one, we hope it will work pretty soon because we've been having moving timelines as well. How do we militate against incidents like this? Because before we brought you on the show, I saw a video yesterday as far back as 1994. It's more like deja vu. Yet again, you know, it's happening in 2024, 30 years after.
So my point again is that there's a supply chain, and if for purpose of just reiterating it, it will be good to look at how that supply chain works. We start with upstream, where the crude oil is drilled, and the crude oil is drilled. Then it goes into tanks, midstream, where it's transported, and then it is processed in the midstream level and transported. And then, of course, it reaches the final mile, which is downstream proper, where the distribution takes place. Where the issue is at the moment is at the distribution, the final downstream level. It should be understood that if there is no fuel to be distributed, you will have this crisis. If there is fuel to be distributed and there is something wrong with the downstream distribution network, you will still have this crisis. What I am saying is that we have had many cases where there is actually fuel to be distributed, and because certain people want to have a strong hand in negotiation with government and with the people that are concerned, they provoke artificials. So my point is that if we want to stop this deja vu, as you put it, if we want a more respectable option for engaging Nigerians, the focus should be on the distribution chain and have them become responsible, social responsibility in terms of their actions, and responsible to Nigerians. Because you can have all the fuel in the world, but if the distribution chain has an issue, it will not work. And so we need people who are within the distribution chain to understand that there are better ways for them to get what they want than putting Nigerians to suffering. That is the point. So if the people are coming out to say they do not have fuel to distribute, it's a different case. But we are seeing that there's significant possibility that they do have fuel to distribute, and they just want to keep the fuel scarcity as a card for negotiation. And that is what should be discouraged.
Mr. Shomi, as for clarity, without ambiguity, so if I understand you and Nigerians understand you properly, this distribution point that could cause this difficulty that we're experiencing could either be technical or man-made. Are you saying by fact or in fact that this particular one is man-made?
Okay, so what I'm saying, because I'm not at the distribution point, is that there is significant possibility that it is man-made, because we have factors to hear that there is fuel available in the system. So unless I am at the point where I'm seeing it, I cannot say for a fact. But information available to me shows that there is significant possibilities that it is man.
So let's break it down further. Again, we're trying to get to the truth here. Because they're different players, and it looks like every player would want to protect their interests, maybe give out a little information, protect the majority of it such that they protect their interests, which is their business. So the logistics issues and the pricing issue, which is it really? Is this also a push for price increase? Because each time you ask, the NNPCL had released a statement now 5 days ago saying there's no plan to increase the pricing. But you've referenced that there's a possibility for that because we've seen that crude prices are changing. So it's either we're paying more as subsidy to meet that gap or the cost would fall on Nigerians. So which do you think would need to be resolved now? Is it the conversation on pricing, or the conversation should be targeted to logistics or supply, whatever it is that it's been termed?
So there are two different issues. To my mind, the issue on pricing is a recurring decimal. You know, I mean, crude oil is a commodity like any other commodity in the world, whether it's gold, whether it's coffee, whether it's cocoa. They have up and downs. I mean, the prices goes up, the prices go down, which will mean that the pricing issue, we have to have a way, a system that works for us where we will need to engage each other and talk to each other anytime there's a need for price increase. Because the factors that affect pricing is not just crude oil. There could also be local issues. There could be, I mean, there are also things that are peculiarly Nigerians there. But irrespective of whichever one, as long as there is a need to engage for price, there has to be a respectable, intelligent, result-oriented way for us to discuss price. So that is on one side. On the other side, there is the system that is supposed to get us fuel. The point is this: whether the issue about pricing has been resolved or not, the system that gets us fuel to the filling station should not hold us accountable. In other words, it should not be a card. The suffering of Nigerians should not be a card for certain people to negotiate. And that is what needs to be decided. So what they do in the process, basically, is to appear to Nigerians to be discussing, or appear to Nigerians to have certain scarcity, and then be doing what they want to do. Yes, the NNPC has released a press release that there is no intention to increase price, but we do know historically, so this is a matter of observation, and observation is scientific. We do know by matter of observation that over the years, when there is this kind of scarcity, it usually leads to price increase. So whether they have said what they have said with tongue in cheek, whether they said it as a matter of fact and sincerity, we always know that when these kind of things happen, it does lead to certain things before normalcy resumes. So that is the point there. Two different issues, a different discussion about price, a different discussion about availability.
Speaking of normalcy, it is the expectation that perhaps in the coming days, or maybe, very few weeks from now, Dangote refinery will begin dispensing petrol. And in that regard, if we compare it with what we have experienced with the dispensing of diesel, there is an advocacy even from here by marketers of diesel that a more realistic price for diesel would be even less than 1,200, where it is currently pegged now, because there is the company is not incurring cost on transportation, on haulage, and all the works. So what would be the realistic price? Because I doubt that it is too early in the day for Nigerians to begin to have that conversation. What would be the realistic price for the pump for petrol in the light of the circumstances? And should excessive profit, be a factor here? Which agency of government should we look to for regulation?
Okay, so under the Petroleum Industry Act, there is an agency of government responsible for regulation of downstream activities, and that's the Nigerian Midstream Downstream Regulatory Authority. They are in a position to say, and they are in a position to actually to actually see as a matter of authority if the pricing is right. You know, when we come to pricing of petroleum commodities, there are factors that go in there, some of which are peculiar to the company in terms of how the company operates, some of which are standard because the crude oil is an international commodity. So it is a combination of the local cost, which is peculiar to how Dangote refinery operates, and the ones that are international that determines their final price. I am a believer in the free market, the capital market, in which there should be limited interruptions in determining in somebody's price being determined. But having said that, because of the social nature and the social effect that petrol has, there has to be some kind of intervention there. The issue of determining whether the price is right or not is the fact that the factors that determine this price are not public. In other words, we do not know all the inputs that goes into it. And it's understandable because everybody that operates a business, whether it be a service business, whether it be a product business, has to have some amount of corporate secrecy, some amount of credibility for them to be able to operate business successfully. So it is the regulator really and sincerely that can be able to look into that price and say to Nigerians, this price is fair or this price is not. One of the things about Nigerians, we, the consuming public, when we talk about a fair price, whether it be with electricity, whether it be with petrol, is that we actually do not take time to look at the production costs. I mean, today I heard the gentleman saying that everybody should leave band A, and all that, but everybody is not talking about the cost of producing electricity. So it is when you know the cost that you can be able to put it side by side and know what should be a right price for them to sell it. So it's the same thing. We have to put some more pressure, a critical mass of pressure on the powers that be for them to release the factors that make for the pricing. And then, and only then, can we determine what is the ideal price for the people to produce. If the price is looking at 50% margins in terms of profit, obviously, because it is a social service and a social product available, then we can be looking at price reduce. But if it is not, if it is, they're looking at 5%, they're looking at 7%, somebody has to also put food on the table. So it's a balancing act, and it's an act for somebody who has not just information, but also authority to be able to look into and give Nigerians a feedback.
All right, Mr. Shobi, we're going to talk about that pricing policy in a moment. We're going to move from percentage to actual figure, but we want to touch base with our correspondent in Port Harcourt, the capital of Rivers State, Deborah Balama. She has an update for us. Deborah, we can see you at the fuel station. Give us an update. It doesn't appear like vehicles are snaking onto the road. What's going on?
Well, Geoffrey, in Port Harcourt, the scenario is quite different from what is being witnessed in Abuja and Lagos and other parts. As you can see behind me, people are buying fuel. There's even no queue in normal filling stations. You only have queue at NNPC filling stations because they're selling for $5.91. In this particular filling station I'm standing, they're selling at 700 naira per liter. So actually, this might not be far from the fact that there are private tank farms in Port Harcourt and they all have products. I spoke with the public relations officer of the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association, IPMAN, and he explained to me yesterday night that Port Harcourt might not experience this because there are particular depots that are regulated by the government, and this particular depots right now do not have products. And so people have to rely on private depot, more like tank farms, and Port Harcourt has enough of that. And at the moment, there's enough product. But there might be the scenario we are seeing in other states in Port Harcourt if the neighboring states start coming here to buy products and then they run out of stock. Because basically, if you have fewer tank farms or private depots in a particular state, there are tendency for there to be scarcity when the depots that are regulated by government do not have products. So that's what exactly it is. But for now, it's stable. NNPC sells for 591 naira other filling stations, well, slight 10 naira difference in what they used to sell before. Before now, last week it was selling between around 650 to 690. But yesterday, almost all the filling stations adjusted their pricing to 700 naira per liter. So that is what it is for now. So almost everywhere I checked this morning, they're all selling 700 naira. So that's what it is in Port Harcourt at this time. So we're lucky. There is no fuel scarcity in Port Harcourt for now.
Well, and we can see that rest on your face, Deborah. Thank you so much for your reporting. And it's also interesting to note that the adjustment in price, despite the fact that there is no petrol scarcity in your state. Thank you so much, Deborah, our correspondent.
Well, for that adjustment, the public relations officer, Ipman, explained that because it's not sold by the depot regulated, you're going to likely see little adjustments. And for now, the fewer the tank farms have product, the more the price will go up. Of course, you know what happens in monopoly. When someone sees that maybe I'm the only one having product, it will definitely take his price up. So for now, the tank farms all have products. So there is no more like a monopoly enjoyed by any of them. But if neighboring states keep coming here to buy products, eventually you might have a situation where one or two might have, and that can actually trigger a price increment. Well, that's what it is. So for now, it's stable, but we don't know what will happen the next one day. That's what it is. Yeah.
Well, Deborah, it looks like you're just taunting all of us in Lagos and Abuja and trying to show off with the situation in Rivers State. But it's expected because, of course, that's the one that lays the golden eggs. But tell us about the situation with other filling stations around. You've given us the template. NNPC stations selling for $5.91. Others selling for 700. That's 109 naira difference. But surely there'll be other filling stations that are probably locked, that are not selling petrol. Do you have that case there, and what is perhaps responsible?
Well, in Port Harcourt, actually, because I went out a bit early, so I don't know whether their start-off time is 8 a.m., but there are some I noticed that are closed, but I can't really so I can't really tell whether it's because they don't have products or because they open at 8 a.m. As when I went there, it was before 8 a.m. So perhaps I'll check again to know the situation, whether they are still locked and if it's because they don't have products. So that's what it is.
Thank you so much. We can see you're balling in Rivers State. We understand.
We'll come and get petrol from there.
We'll come and get petrol from there.
Well, it's expected because I don't have to keep for fuel like you guys are doing right now in Lagos. So.
Enjoy the good life.
Shots fired.
All right,
Deborah, having fun there.
Yeah, so let's get back to Mr. Shomi. Mr. Shomi, of course, you have a picture of what's going on in Rivers State. It looks like Rivers is out of Nigeria. Good for them. We hope that it gets to Lagos at some point. But I wanted you on that pricing policy. Let's move from percentage increase to now we're hearing in Port Harcourt 591 or so, as against 700 for other marketers. In Lagos, I bought for 720 at a particular fuel station. Some people are buying for 800. I know you've raised this conversation about they shouldn't be brutal and make everybody suffer because they want a marginal or some significant increase, in the price of petrol. Where exactly, in terms of figure, from your knowledge, are they talking about? Are we going to start living with the reality of the average we used to see of 610 to 640, that's not an NNPC? Are we talking about 700 and above now for a liter of fuel?
Honestly, I don't know. So if I'm going to speak definitively, it will be guesswork. But I think what is more important is that there should be more details in the public. And educated people are easier to lead and more difficult to drive. And what sometimes people miss is the fact that if there is intelligent discussions about the need for an increase, people can live with it. I mean, it's not the first time, second time, nor will it be the last time that there will be a demand for fuel increase price in Nigeria. It is just usually the way we go about these things. So specifically responding to your question again, I'm not in a position to provide figures. We can only modulate or analyze or provide extensions from the apparent increase in the international price for crude. But why that is not a good benchmark is that the moment there is a decrease in price for crude, it will not necessarily lead to a decrease in price for the finished product. So somehow, there has to be a more intelligent way of doing this price increase thing.
Right, and it's a great point you made there. There has to be a more intelligent way to approach these things. I mean, you can't take Nigerians for granted and just think, oh, we're doing it the same way. We'll do it again and then it will work. But we'd like to thank you so much, Mr. Olabode Shomi. I do hope that we're taking a cue from this as a people and as a government. We should do things the right way. Thank you so much for your time and your expert knowledge. We hope you have petrol for the course of a day. And thank you for your time, Mr. Shomi. Oh, there you go. Okay. Well, we'll take a moment now on the show. We're still going to keep asking those questions to get the government and those responsible to speak the truth. But when we return, there's this man who's gone from headmaster to head coach. Oh, yeah, I had to use that. Stay with us right here on The Morning Brief. That's our next talking point. Just before football fans come for me, I know we don't joke with our football. It's finito, not the headmaster. Okay. Finidi George, not Mutiu Adepunch. Sometimes things get mixed up. But Jeffrey.
Yeah, so let's switch the conversation now. We're now talking football. And of course, Solomon Adebayo Puja joins us. Puja, it's good to see you after all of that experience in Cote d'Ivoire. But it's good to see you again. So let's get straight to it. Eventually, we have appointed head coach, Finidi George. The conversation is out there for and against. Where do you stand? What does this look like for us as a nation, a footballing nation?
Good morning. Good to be back on the show from Cote d'Ivoire, of course. I think it's a good move for the Super Eagles as well as for NFF. This is someone who has been with the team for the past 2 to 3 years. You know, he was the assistant coach to Jose Posero. He has, did the qualifiers with Posero. Of course, he was at the AFCON with Posero. And again, he took the team to Morocco to play against Ghana and Mali for the friendly in Morocco. So it's someone that knows the team very well. He knows of course, the NFL very well. And I don't think it's out of place to actually give him the job for someone who knows the team very well. And of course, he has been active. Remember, Finidi George won the MPFL title with Eyimba last season, and they're still doing well on the table. This season, they are in top 4 in the MPFL table. So he has been doing well for himself, and of course, he knows the team very well.
So is this taking a risk, or this is competence at play?
It's not a risk. His competence is not it's not out of place. It's up there as one of the best coaches in Nigeria. Like I said, he won the MPFL title with Eyimba last season. That's up there. The friendly against Ghana and Mali, of course, he won one, lost one. He won against Ghana, and our closest rival when it comes to football. And again, he has been with the team for the past 2 to 3 years. The players knows him. He knows the tactics very well, and he knows the tactics ahead. Remember, we are playing the World Cup qualifier in June, so we don't have any other match except that qualifier. So for someone who took us to the friendly in Morocco, and of course there's no window for any international break for friendlies until June, where we are going to play South Africa and Benin Republic. So the NFL look it inward, and feel like if they bring another person entirely who is going to understand the philosophy of the team, it's going to be a risk. So for him, for someone who knows the team very well and who have been doing well locally as well, I think it's a no-brainer not to give him a job.
Do you agree that this is, as some are saying, that this is a test for the NFF, particularly when you situate it within the context of the position expressed by ex-international Samson Siasia, that the NFF traditionally places more premium in treatment for foreign coaches than for indigenous coaches. And in that context, how do you see the treatment of Coach Finidi George in the coming days and perhaps years?
You know, that's a big worry for Nigeria, and I must confess to you on the show, because if you look at what happened in Morocco, Finidi George was the only technical person that went with the team to Morocco. No assistant coaches, nobody. He was the one doing the calls, he was the one doing the tactics, he was the one doing the formation. There was no game reader. There was nobody. He was the only technical person that went with the team to Morocco. And that's what we are talking about. You know, look at what happened yesterday. There was an announcement without assistant coaches for Finidi, without a target, without, you know, terms of condition of the contract. So, you know, it begs to ask question, what is going on with the NFL? There's nothing in place for him, and, you know, for now, the NFL is broke. We cannot afford a foreign coach. So that's why you have to settle for a domestic, or we will say a local coach. So we are asking questions. You know, we are still debating on or speculating on the assistant coach for a manager when we have, you know, a World Cup qualifier in less than 5 weeks. So it's a question we continue to ask. I think, you know, everybody's aware of what is going on now, and everybody's asking questions. We are continue to ask questions, put them on their tools to give us the right way to announce and right, you know, personnel to work with Finidi George.
I mean, it's sad to hear that, because it's just mind-boggling, and I do hope that the NFF will come up, because we had the minister speak about this, that there were plans to announce a coach between 1-2 weeks. So you'll expect that this was well thought through, and all of those things that ought to be put in place should have been put in place. As you said, you know how things will go if we were to be another coach. But I do hope that the NFF will come out to clear the air and give us the actual fact. But looking at what we now have on our hands, ahead of us, as it were, we have the World Cup qualifiers. For him, I mean, we won that match against Ghana. I think he was in charge then, and we lost the one against Mali, 2-0. So it's like 1-1, lost 1, 1-1, which is quite good. And now that you've given us a context to what played out, he was the only one. It's now a bit more understandable. But speak to us. These matches that we have, they are major deciders. So must we put all of those things you talked about in place and not expect too much from him? Because if he doesn't have support, he can only do little. I'd like you to speak to that.
You know, that's what we are talking about. You know, we know the importance of these 2 games in June. Remember, we are just 2 points from 2 games from our World Cup qualifier group. South Africa is topping the table with 4 points, and we need to get maximum points from South Africa and from Benin Republic. The good news for us is that CAF didn't approve any stadium for Benin Republic in Benin Republic, so they will be playing that game at the Felix Stadium in Abidjan. And like you know, we know Abidjan very well. We got to the semi-final of AFCON, so we know that stadium very well. And it was a base for Super Eagles, you know, at AFCON. So it's a good news for us. But away from that, the NFL must decide what is going on from today. One, they have to announce the assistant coaches for Finidi George. There should be no speculation. 5 weeks now, we are playing the most important games, you know, under, you know, the NFF, under this present NFF. And again, you know, we have to talk about the terms and conditions. How many years are they giving, Finidi George? If he fails to qualify for the World Cup, is he going to be sacked? If he qualifies for the World Cup, is he taking the team to the World Cup? And again, the target for Finidi George. So there's so much still to be announced from the NFL. We are still waiting. Speculation cannot help us at this point in time, because the players are looking, you know, the players are waiting, you know, for Finidi George now. They have to send letters to the players. He knows his philosophy. So the players must know the coaches before the end of the season, so that they can prepare themselves on who will coach them as well. So all in all, we are still waiting for the assistant managers, terms and conditions of the contract, and of course the assistant managers, you know, that will assist Finidi George ahead of the 2 games in June.
All right, Puja, are you expecting that we should see some level of increase in terms of remuneration? Because I heard Tiasia say when they are paying foreign coaches, say $50,000, you pay a Nigerian coach 1 million naira. The gap is just worlds apart.
Okay, the latest indication, you know, who took us to the Nations Committee on 13 got 5 million per month. And like I said, you know, we cannot afford any coach, any foreign coach at this point in time. Even for Posano, he had to take a pay cut from £70,000 to £50,000 to take us to AFCON. And of course, after AFCON, he had a renegotiation and we couldn't pay that amount of money. Countries like Morocco, countries like Algeria, countries like Ghana are paying well over $100,000. And I don't think the NFF can afford that. But for Finidi George, again, like I said, we don't even know his salary. Right now, we don't know his salary. But of course, like Siasa said, they have been low when it comes to salaries and payments and even allowances. So that is what we want the NFS to clear to journalists. We can't speculate. I can see they have speculate on China's TV, which is not even good, for the sports space. So we need to know all these details, like I said, and of course find a way to settle our home before the crucial games, in June. So, but like you said, we have challenges about the local coaches not being paid well, and like I said, we cannot afford the foreign coaches.
Poja, we can't talk enough about the management of this whole thing. And in relation to that, I wonder if you agree with the talking points in some quarters that perhaps the NFF knew all along that they were going to go with with Finidi George as a choice for a coach. And in that regard, the announcement ought to have been made instead of this needless delay. So do you think this will affect Coach Finidi George as he embarks on the task of helping Nigeria win the all-important matches ahead, speaking of which, South Africa, the match against Benin Republic as well? Do you think it will affect him mentally in terms of preparation?
Well, it was a crazy space, in the past few weeks about who is going to be the coach of the Super Eagles. There were some PR, managers actually pushing Emmanuel Amunike to be the coach of the team. Even there's some quarters that even announced, platform that even announced Amunike as the coach of the Super Eagles last week, even last 2 weeks. And like I said, it's not going to settle our home. The NFF knew what they are doing. From the offset after AFCON, remember the NFF put out an application to the public that they're looking for a manager. Who does that? It's not done anywhere in the world for a federation to put out notice for job interview. So it has been washed from the start. But we thank God that we can actually sit down and settle for a manager. And again, like I said, if you are not going to take Finidi George, why take him to Morocco for the 2 friendlies? This is the only window that a manager can test his team ahead of the most important games. And it was Finidi George that took the team to Morocco. So why do you wait till after 4 or 5 weeks of the international break to name a manager? But like I said, it's settled now, and we need to settle the assistant coaches by this week so that in the next 4 weeks, we know straight away that the next international break, this is our manager, this is our assistant managers, and of course, this is the terms and conditions, and even the target for Finidi George and his assistant. Now, we are having speculation again about the assistants. Is it going to be a Mokashi? Is it going to be the American footballer in America? Is it going to be a Monike again? And there's a lot of speculation that is going on. So we are waiting that by this week, end of this week, we have everything settled with the Super Eagles.
Nigerians don't joke with football, so he will have just about a month to prepare for that all-important World Cup qualifier against South Africa. I don't know if that's enough time, as you said. Perhaps we could have done this earlier. But I'd like you to also speak to, the expectations of Nigerians. We saw how our relationship with the former coach went from sour to love to even sour again, and it's just a very complicated one. So how should Nigerians approach this? We know that naturally you cannot control people's expectations, but maybe you can just, guide us through. How should we approach Finidi George in terms of supporting and maybe giving him a flack when he deserves it?
Well, from the announcement from yesterday, the feelers on social media space, everywhere in Nigeria, people were happy. I think the better percentage of people, we're happy that, we have a local coach, a domestic coach, and of course, a familiar face in the team. Talking about Finidi George, like I said, he won the MPFL title. He's doing well in the MPFL again. So it's a fan of the local scene, and of course, people love him. But the expectation is very high. We cannot afford to lose or not to go to the World Cup back to back. And that is why it's very important that they settle with Finidi George as soon as practicable so that he can start preparing. Start preparing is not actually playing on the pitch, but of course, sending letters to the players that will fit into your philosophy. Like I said, he took over the team in Morocco. So there's high expectation. We are playing our rivals, talking about South Africa. We defeated them at AFCON, but this is very important again because we need to beat them so that they will not run away with the first position in our group. So it's very key for Finidi George to do everything right because, like I said, it's a must-win. Away from the foreign coach or away from local coaches, the average fan out there want to see the Super Eagles beating the South Africans, beating the Benin Republic, and of course getting that ticket to the World Cup next time. So for Finidi George, it's a big task for him. For the fans, I don't think they have a lesser objective or expectation from this manager. They want them to win, and of course, like I said, we cannot afford to miss out at the World Cup back to back.
I'm sure that you've had interactions across board between the coaches and the players. Let's zoom in on the players this time. If you were to talk to them as to how they should respond to this new development, what will it be? Because at the end of the day, this is a local coach who has done well for himself within the local space and has been assistant to Posero for a while. But sometimes we see that the attitude of players can also impact on the performance of the coach. How should he manage all of this in terms of ego, in terms of management of the players across board?
That's one good thing that is going in for Finidi George right now is the players respect him very well. At AFCON, he was like the go-to guy when it comes to dishing out instructions by the pitch side, even during training. So they respect him. Remember, he has won it all. He won the Champions League. He played in the World Cup, played at AFCON. So it's like a role model to most of these boys. So the respect is there already. What we just want for him is to stamp his authority in terms of philosophy and in terms of calling player. Remember, in Morocco, the feeders from Morocco, he was well respected. And we saw it at AFCON as well. And because at Morocco, it was actually an interim coach. So the respect was there. But now it's the head coach of the team and the players from AFCON. For what I saw myself, respect him 100%. So that's good for the 1994 set, like they say, coming back to coach the Super Eagles. But all in all, I think the players respect Finidi George, and with what he has done as a player, what he's doing as a manager, and what he has achieved even with the team itself, I think is a big plus for him to give that respect that he won from the players. So like I said, the players respect him, and it's good that he's settled that Finidi George will be the coach of the Super Eagles.
All right, Suleiman Adebayo, Puja, thank you so much for your thoughts and insight. As always, when we call on you on these issues, we hope that this is going to play out for Nigeria positively. At the end of the day, we have to support our own and see how this ends. And finally, we have come back to use local content. And we hope, I was calculating the difference between Posero's money and what will likely be that of Finidi George. So if Posero, today's exchange rate, will be earning 60 million naira. So let's try and figure out how much we're going to give to Finidi George to motivate him to do the best he can for the country. Thank you, Puja.
Thank you for having me.
Well, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll get to the softer side of life and talk to a gentleman right here in the studio on the Morning Brief. Join us again.
Well, Jeffrey gave you heads up as to who we're having next, said a gentleman, but there's so much more to him. Many parts, but let's dive right into it because time is of the essence. Ladies and gentlemen, VJ Adams, as you see, joins us right here in our studios. A TV host, producer, creative solutionist, and the list goes on and on. VJ Adams, welcome to the Morning Brief.
Thanks for having me. It's so good to be here.
But tell us, we need to start from, we will talk about you because there's a whole lot to talk about you. But VJ Adams, what's going on with Nigeria's music industry? Wizkid, Davido, how are you interpreting this and what camp?
And Don Jazzy in the mix, by the way.
Don Jazzy is in the mix, by the way.
I'm not interpreting it at all.
Okay.
I don't concern myself with everything else apart from when they release the music. So I care about the product, which is the music. So I consume what I like and I leave what I don't.
So are you trying to stay away from this? So I don't know, Wizkid FC or?
No, I generally.
OBO gang? 30 BG, so they don't come for you?
No, because generally I kind of mind my business. I would comment on what I have absolute information about. So why did anyone put out a tweet? I can't say for a fact, except I interview the person and they give me their perspective. So before I can comment on any of these things, I'll get perspectives and then I can take a stand.
Well, now you take a seat.
I'll take a seat.
Well, what does this do to the industry? I mean, is this good for it? Like, okay, people get to stream their music, particularly because new music is coming out we hear, or it just makes the industry watered down? We have our political issues that we're facing, fuel scarcity and the rest.
True.
But what do you think this does to the industry?
I think for what it's worth, they say artists, pop culture artists, like to buy relevance of some sorts, and depending on how they deem fit. So putting out tweets like that might be intentional. For all you care, there might be a product in the pipeline. So just building the basis of talkability. You know, so it all depends. I don't know for a fact what is going on. And I caught up to it just last night because I've been on set all day. You know, so I'm literally just saying, what's going on here? What happened here? So I'm literally looking through, what did this person say? Why is it okay? You know, so I'm yet to even get all the perspectives on it.
So there's a possibility that this is a marketing strategy and, you know, both men could just be fine behind the scenes.
It could be. And, you know, whenever these things happen, I usually would tell people to not, I mean, if you take a side, it's okay, but how would you feel in a few weeks you see the two men hanging out, you know, after you've taken a side? So you need to be very careful.
I think it's not in isolation. It happens even in politics, where people feast on gullibilities and all of that. It's a creative space, according to all of this. But maybe digging further, how much has that done in terms of the outlook of the industry? Is this a gimmick that works well for the outlook of the industry, or this is just an old practice that is no longer relevant in modern times?
I think this happens all across the world in terms of artists going for each other's throats, and for the most part, the two artists in question, they've had this for the longest. And people, from a statistic and analytical standpoint, have said it's propagated their careers to a certain level. You know, so it could still be that path for what it's worth.
So is it why they are not, because everybody has been waiting like, sorry, we're here to talk to you.
Yeah, but you can't avoid this.
Since you're in this space and all of this, everybody has been trying to say, when will Wizkid and Davido drop a record together? Will that ever happen in your view?
Never say never. It's how I like to look at it. Would it be a great thing for that to happen? Absolutely. I love collaborations. And even from my perspective, putting out music, I love to collaborate because I think you can buy into other people's energies, and you can even think about a banner that says Wizkid and Davido live. You can imagine how exceptional that would be. So that's my perspective to it. I would love for it to happen. Whether or not it does, fingers crossed.
Well, at the risk of seeming like I'm overflogging the issue, is a rivalry sort of, you know, from the PR perspective, good content for the industry? You know, lately, one of the actresses had cause, you know, to call for a unification of the industry recently on her Instagram page, and it caused quite a stir, saying that at a point Funke Akindele was the, you know, the big deal in the industry, and then she became the big deal, and then she called for everyone to unite. So it's good content both for social media and the blogs, you know, and the likes.
Yes, I think it's the people like what they like. It's and I generally just believe it's what it is. Whether or not I won't go that route, it's a different conversation, which is very personal to me. I would rather not do that. But from a general perspective, the people like what they like. The people have chosen camps, they've chosen their faves and wherever their stands. And so they enjoy these things to give them certain reasons to, for the most part, support their faves. Is it good for the industry? From a talkability standpoint, I think it's okay, depending on how you would love to be perceived and what you would want to be remembered by.
As long as nobody's hurt in the mix.
Exactly. As long as no one is losing their lives and no one is physically hurt or mentally, Well, you can't control the mental hurt.
In case you don't get it, this is going out to the fans that are at loggerheads. Do not take it too seriously. Don't say, meet me at this place.
Exactly.
Let us fight. It's music, it's entertainment. Don't take it too seriously. But let's talk about you, VJ Adams.
Yes, sir.
I mean, you've had your own quite fair share of controversies as well.
Have I?
Haven't you?
I don't think so. Tell me about it.
You don't think so, right?
If you have any,
or is it marketing as well?
Which one?
You joined Swatch. You joined Swatch recently.
Shout out to Talma the comedian.
Right.
See, that's a set. It's a set I played lead on. It's yet to be released, but that's like a teaser.
Right.
So it's just building momentum towards.
So you're not trying to fight anybody over it.
No. I don't engage in fights because when anything I do, I see it through. So if I would fight, I would see it through.
Fantastic. So basically, for you, you've tried to stay away from controversies.
Well, yes, because it's not. In the start of my career, what I tried to do was allow people see competence and not controversy. So I want you to, when you remember me, I want you to remember my competence of what I bring to the table in terms of what I do. And that's how I've been able to thrive for 16 years.
So obviously your background, not just your background, what you do, you're a host, television, radio. And
that's right.
There's a lot of work that goes into it. There's a lot of research, introspecting. You guide what you say because there are ethics of the profession that helps you to shape.
You've seen the way I've been answering your questions, have you? Yes.
Don't let people know. So, I mean, it guides your lifestyle, essentially, because you're not just a random star. You're a star that is paired to a profession that has ethics.
That's right.
But you said you've not slept for some time now. So tell us, what are you up to?
Oh, okay. In terms of what I'm up to, I'm preparing for different rollouts. So when I say rollouts, when you create a product, the PR perspective to it in terms of release, how it goes out, and all of that. So I'm preparing for my Celebrity Video Game Challenge, the 7th edition when I'm headlining. I usually do a footfall of 4,000 people at this gaming event. So I'm preparing for that rollout. My fashion is coming again. The last time I did was 2021. And what I do with the fashion is when I sell it out, I stop, then I create something new. So I've created something new that is coming in a couple of weeks as well. It's in production right now, so I've seen the samples, so I'm preparing for that rollout as well. So I'm scripting, I'm designing, I'm advertising materials and all of that stuff. That's why I've barely slept.
So let's talk about that controversy you're running away from. So let's be clear.
Let's be clear.
Let's be clear. So
I thought that was
stay away.
Straight question.
We do this.
I'm a straight shooter.
Yes, straight shooter.
Yes.
I love it.
So, do you have a relationship with Bimbo?
I know of her works as she's an incredible actress. I know she's a family-oriented person. I know she respects her work a lot. She's constantly working. I also know that she's a good person. And I have all of this information. It could only mean one thing. So what will be your next question?
We all know
Were you in a SWAT uniform? VJ
Okay.
Adams, were you in a SWAT uniform?
Yes.
Because you wanted to defend the honor of your girl. Yes, you have to answer the question, VJ Adams.
I tried my best.
Yes, and you were after Timmy Egusin for obvious reasons.
We know Timmy can be cheeky.
Yes.
So you needed to set him straight.
And Timmy had to apologize immediately for obvious reasons. So please explain the obvious reasons to us. Don't worry, nobody's watching.
Okay, so to be honest, so when I say preparing for rollout, that's a rollout. So there's a movie coming called Unexpected Places, where I'm EPing. So I'm in behind the scenes. You probably won't see my name, but you see the name of my company, Content King. So this is part of the rollout phase, and he's doing what he's supposed to do, and that's what it is.
So Bimbo is safe with you.
Anyone is safe with me. I'm a good person. I like to.
I say I'm a straight shooter. I'm asking you that.
I'm asking the head measure that. Answer that. She's safe with me. Everybody's safe with me. Are you not safe with me?
I don't know.
We don't know.
Are you not safe with me?
We don't know about that.
You don't know about that?
We don't know.
Wow. So tell us, I may come back to this Bimbo matter, but let me just, so that we don't talk too much about it, because I'm looking at the time. It's impressive how you've evolved. We saw you from being an anchor, TV host, and I'm sure you're doing a couple of that around, but you've incorporated a lot of these things. We've seen people find it's quite difficult for them to evolve from a thing to the next. So maybe a bit of a toolkit on how, when you're in this space, you can begin to adapt a few other things that you can evolve into for those who admire your evolution.
Follow the money. When you follow the money, to mean that those who make the real money either own the intellectual property or own the platform. So in the long run, you need to figure out owning something if you want to stay playing in this space. And that's what I had to do. That was what's important for me. So following the money would mean merchandising, creating fashion, where I could make money in my sleep of some sort, create music. I could make some coins from streaming as well, create my own shows like Know Your Music, which is, I was able to get a partnership with Paramount Africa on the MTV-based platform. So yes, follow the money, create intellectual property, or own the platform. That's really what it is in the long run. If you follow the entire cycle of broadcasting, TV or radio, the money comes from there. Those who make the big bucks, they will either have to own the platform or own the content.
So that's quite a lot, and it speaks to your enterprising gift or nature, as the case may be, from television hosting, radio hosting, by the way. That's also part of your CV. There's also, you talked about your fashion line, building a fashion line, and there's also writing music. You know, we came off the one that we just watched earlier. What insights would you be sharing to, you know, young people who started out as television host or radio hosting? And speaking from a broadcast perspective, sometimes it's rather difficult, you know, to branch out into freelancing and let the jobs come. So what insights would you be sharing to help that freedom of expression?
For me, when I was starting on my career, I tailored my career with people like Jamie Foxx, Kanye West, in terms of being able to excel at multiple things. I thought that was exciting. You know, if you're gifted to be able to do multiple things, why not? You know, who said a broadcaster can't make music? Who said a broadcaster can't fill up arenas? I mean, they told me no one did before I did in 2019 to fill up a 4,000 capacity venue. So that was exciting for me. I love the challenge. I love the challenge of it's never been done. Why not? Why can't it be done? So beyond trying to create multiple streams of income and also just trying to find financial stability, because for the most part, if you work in broadcasting, TV or radio, there's so much you can really make from your paycheck in terms of salaries. And I'm speaking from the perspective of someone who did this over 15 years. You would need to open multiple streams of income. And for me, I was more excited about opening multiple streams of income within entertainment, regardless. You know, the people say, oh, go and do real estate, which is also pretty okay. But I thought, why not? There's still so much more you could do within this space. And that excited me to pursue multiple dreams, regardless of staying firm as a broadcaster. Because for me, I thought the swag was being a presenter, doing TV, radio, while putting out music, not leaving one for one.
Right. Yeah. So essentially doing everything at the same time, multitasking.
That's right.
Are you still, by the way, modeling around? No, let me end. Are you still modeling or tailoring your career after Kanye West? Or as the case may be?
From his entrepreneurial competence, yes.
Till now?
Entrepreneurial competence, yes. He's still one of the most exceptional people from an entrepreneurial standpoint.
Right.
He's clear on the path he goes with his EA sneakers and his shoe line and those other things. But what he does with his personal life, I don't concern myself with a lot of things. Because for me, that's what I tell people. Like, when I see anyone,
You're product focused.
Yes, I'm product focused. I care
I
about...
think it's something to pick out from your experience. So you just basically pick what you think you can learn and all. So speak to us about that challenge around being a showbiz person, an entertainer. There's lots of pressures. There's lots of opportunities for, is it compromise, lose yourself, try this, try that, and some will say that's responsible for what we're seeing play out in some other people, and I'm not going to mention names because I think there's a lot of examples, and there's a name probably coming to your mind right now. So how do you handle the pressure?
So for me, I try to treat everything with a certain level of urgency, because we're not here for long in terms of, well, don't let me go too deep. I try to treat everything with...
go ahead, it's a morning brief.
Because we're not here for long. How long are we really going to be here for in terms of being alive. You know, so I think it's important to pursue everything your heart yearns for, because when you're lowered to your grave, you're going to be there alone, and everyone are going to have to move on and live their lives regardless. So nothing should hold you back, provided you're working hard but also working smart. So in the early stages of my career, what I did was I tried out multiple things. I figured out what worked, and I'm able to analyze what didn't work, why it didn't work. There's certain things that I created that it was ahead of its time, so I needed to hold back on it, to revisit it. You know, I created Know Your Music, for example, in 2011. So it's a TV game show. And that was the time there was no TikTok, there was no Instagram yet, there was not a lot of things. But it was ripe to come alive when it eventually did. You know, so pursuing multiple dreams, being able to fulfill your potential as a human being matters to me a lot. And just being able to do that and just not getting comfortable with little success is also one of the things you need to pay attention to. Because, you know, you can get comfortable if you're thriving at something and not understand that there are bigger things to look forward to, you know. But for me, it's a bit different.
I'm interested in the philosophy behind a lot of things. I was watching, I think, Jamie receiving the BET Awards at some point, Best Actor some years ago. And when he was giving his speech or whatever, he did say that an elderly man told him, Jamie, let this be about something. More like, you're now a big star. Get off that high horse of being a big star. What is your voice really all about? So when you're putting out music, which is one of the things you do, what guides your mind? What's the philosophy that guides you? Is it also vibe, or there's a strong message you're trying to put out? Because everybody has their interests, and no one can criticize them for what they love to do.
Absolutely. For me, putting out music, a message most definitely. Baby It's Okay, by the title itself, says lift me high. And even though it's Yoruba, but after writing that, I realized that from a producer standpoint, my voice wouldn't do justice to it. Because I wrote it from a Fuji perspective. And I was lucky to have had the relationship with Alhaji Pasuma, and I reached out to him. He heard it, he said he really liked it, and he voiced it, and we were able to make that magic. Shout out to Reminisce and TVZ as well. So for me, message is important, and like you said, whether or not you choose to just vibe, if that works for you as well, that's also good. But for me, I'm big on the message. I'm big on something relatable, something you can hold on to, because I want to be in my 60s and 70s and still be proud of the work I've made, and not give excuses that I was just young and naive, you know, while I was making all of these things.
So from promoting music to writing music and curating music, that's a robust, you know, standpoint. Speaking of which, you've been curating music since 2013. What are the transitions that you have noticed, particularly about the Nigerian brand of music or brands of music that fill up, you know, clubs and dance halls?
So for music that goes to the club and dance halls, it's very direct. It's pop culture music that would do that. Even though for the most part now it's been pegged as Afro beats, as you would know, which has gotten a lot of international success as well with the likes of Burna Wiz, David, and the likes doing exceptionally well. For the most part, that's the trajectory of where the music is. But what I also like to tell people is, while that is thriving, there are also artists like Rika Sani, who's making amazing music. There's Johnny Drill, who's making amazing music. Johnny Drill fills up Moyo Kola Park whenever he's trying to stage an event. You know, and just for newer artists who are trying to come up in the game, is what I tell them. It's okay to emulate the success of Burna Boy filling up 20,000 capacity venues, but you can also do smaller venues with maybe 3,000, 4,000 people and still make whatever you want to make and thrive at it.
So authenticity is, you know, being you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Know thyself is the first thing I tell people. Know thyself, because when you know thyself, you can stay firm in that path. Because there is King Sunny Ade who's still performing in his 80s, I believe. There's Shina Peter who's still performing. Do you still want to be able to perform in couple of years, or do you want this to end in a few years? So it depends on what works for you, really.
Okay. Jeffrey, did you want to go back?
No, we're totally out of time, I understand. With the bimbo thing.
Oh, is that what you were thinking? I know you get
Should we just ask is,
I know you get
are they getting married soon? Is that the question? Is that the one? How soon are you getting married to Bimbo?
How soon am I getting married?
To Bimbo.
So we'll pick the questions one at a time. Okay. How soon am I getting married? Wow. First question. I'm not sure. I'll speak to family, and then we'll make a decision.
Are you marrying collectively or individually?
No, but can I marry alone without the family?
No, I'm there.
Would the family not be there?
Are you going to marry collectively?
The family not going to be there.
But at least you have.
So should I tell the family not to come to my wedding?
So after the wedding,
so
they will also come
to my wedding. In this economy, not every family member can go to the wedding.
That's not good.
DJ May, you have not answered the second question.
Okay, the second part, go on time.
Hey, so the second part, what's the question again?
When are you getting married?
We're running out of time. You people know that we're running out of time.
No, we have 10 seconds.
We have 10 seconds.
When are you getting married to Bimbo?
If you think about it, that'll be a two-part question. You need both parties to have an agreement, don't you think?
It's okay to dream. So tell us your dream.
Dreams. I dream that one day.
Let's go.
Yeah, we get a cue.
You survived us, right?
It's been an amazing time. We were warned beforehand that Vijay Adams has his ways, but we must say, fantastic work you're doing.
Thank you so much.
Meanwhile, do you have a message for Timini?
Watch your back.
Okay, so that's the answer we're looking for, Kylie. We'll take that one.
We'll take that.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we've had the pleasure of Vijay Adams live on the show this morning, multifaceted, really, from musician to fashion, actor, singer, the list goes on. And now SWAT team. Vijay Adams, thank you so much.
Thank you for Timini.
Well, that's much we can do today.
Some, tuxedo and white sensation on certain Instagram handles in the coming months, But you heard it first indirectly from the Morning Brief on Channels Television. We'll be back again tomorrow. Thank you so much for being a part of the program. I am Bukola Koka.
And I'm Jeffrey Zongo. Bye-bye.
We hope we've been able to give you some relief. I mean, we know things are tough, so, hey, we'll get over this. I'm Kayode Kikulu. Goodbye.